Hey, everybody, welcome to That Expert Show, where you help run the show. I'm Anna Canzano. Thanks so much for joining us today. We are talking today about how to find love in 90 days. I know, kind of a funny concept to put a deadline on it, right? But it is the title of a best-selling book and also the name of an Amazon Prime TV show that is centered around the author, our guest today. She's an amazing woman who has mentored hundreds, if not thousands, of people toward lasting relationships. Her work featured in the Wall Street Journal, in the New York Times, and we are doing this episode right around Valentine's Day, which can be a fantastic time to celebrate love, but it can be a hard time as well for a lot of people who, the holiday might amplify the fact that there's an empty spot in their life and they don't have anyone to share that with. So we're here to help today. Would love to answer your questions. If you're watching this live, chime on in, and we are taking a look at those live questions. Joining us live from Florida right now is Dr. Diana Kirschner. Dr. Diana, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Anna. I'm so excited to be here. I really am looking forward to this show.
Dr. Diana, what is the key to finding lasting love? Because I think everybody at some point in their life can find love, but what is really the key to a long, lasting, passionate relationship?
Yeah. The Holy Grail. That's it. Look, there is a very important key, and that is actually getting yourself a fairy godmother. I know that sounds strange, but actually getting yourself a mentor. These days, everything has become incredibly complicated with all these apps, these sites. There are 200 million singles every month on these digital dating sites. And it's become a very complicated game, a very fast game, and it can really burn you out if you don't know what you're doing. And if you take things personally, it's just a very, very fast kind of game. So the single most important thing is to get yourself a mentor who knows how to work this situation, how to find somebody who's really, really great. Of course, the upside to having all these people dating is that there's tons more wonderful choices out there. It's incredible. I mean, I actually call this the age of abundant love, Anna.
And that is
Yeah,
actually a service that you provide, a mentoring relationship. And you've got a
yeah.
great offer for our viewers that we'll talk about a little later here in the show, how you can win an actual free love mentoring session with one of Dr. Diana's experts. Something that really has struck me as I've meandered along in my life trying to find my way is how much family of origin plays into the partners that you choose. So we're talking about
Oh,
the stuff that happened to you in childhood that, whether you know it or not, shapes the
mhm.
type of person that you seek out as a partner, and the type of problems that you're trying to resolve in your relationships as an adult that are really just left over from your issues that you might have had as a child with one or both parents.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that up. The template for love that we learn early on is the relationship with mother and the relationship with father. Mother is the earliest love that we have, right? So if mother's cold, if she's engulfing and smothering, this is the template we use. We learn this is what love is. If father comes in and if he is too demanding if he's distant, this is what we learn. This is what love is. Now, unconsciously, what happens is when we grow up, then we keep picking over and over and over again people who remind us of our parents. Now, initially, they don't look like they're our parents, but but we're so good at honing in psychologically on the people who are going to kind of disappoint us or wound us in the same exact way as we were wounded as children. It's absolutely amazing how we do that, and we all tend to do that. And it's quite often unconscious, but it's very, very powerful.
But it just,
And
in a way, it kind of doesn't make sense because you would think, like, okay, if I had a really distant father, who was never around or just kind of emotionally unavailable or distant, that you would want, as an adult with all your faculties about you, you would seek out the exact opposite of that because, well, that's not what
Yes,
I wanted. That's not the kind of man
yes,
that I want to be with because that's who I had as a dad. And yet,
yes.
that's not what we do as humans.
Well, I'll tell you, this is where it gets really interesting, Anna. Really, really interesting. Because what we do is we do, in fact, try to choose someone who's opposite, right? And it's quite often in the beginning of the relationship that you're relating to someone and they seem to be the opposite of dad that didn't work for me, those qualities. And some of that is there. Some of that is there. So it's not just that simple that we're always repeating these traumas. We're also looking for someone who can heal these wounds, who can absolutely heal these wounds and come through for us in a way that we've never been held before, never been loved up like this before. Come through for us in a way that fills our yearnings, the parts of us that were not just not fulfilled
Mm-hmm.
with validation or appreciation or being told that we're special, being told that we can do in the world, we can create, that we are smart, and that kind of thing. So there is also a quality that we will tend to look for healing agents. We're healing, we might say healing reparental figures to come in and help us. And that can get really, really amazing.
Yeah,
That
but it
can
can be
get really
painful along
amazing.
the process because, I mean, obviously with healing comes kind of an honesty with whatever pain you might have.
Yes.
And so it's like the yin and the yang go together. So you have to get through some kind of probably painful moments with a quality partner to get to that healing point. I'd love to ask you this concept that you've talked about where, especially in the world of online dating, look, some people who are watching this episode might be like, I don't even know how to get one date, let alone three. I don't, like I'm out of the dating world. I'm divorced. I'm, in my 50s or 60s, and I don't even know how to enter this dating world and win at it. But this is really a concept that you promote, which is dating three people at one time. Why, and what's the idea behind that?
Yes, yes, yes. Let me tell you, when you get together with someone, and especially these days when it's so mercurial and there's so many other people for them to choose from and run off with or ghost you with, it's very, very important to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself. There are great people out there, but you want to protect yourself. So you want to date three people casually at the same time. No sex, a little kissing, a little canoodling is okay. Three interesting people. And that way you get to see who's staying the course, who's crazy about you, who's willing to grow, who's really wanting the same vision that you have of what you want to create in your life. And I know everybody says I can't even find one good person to date, but that's not true. That's, again, where you need mentoring. You need a fairy godmother to show you how to get to the prince. And in this case, three potential princes or three potential princesses. And it absolutely can be done. There's a certain way that you write your profile, a certain way you do your photos. There are places to meet singles offline that are fabulous. They're just fabulous. And so you just have to learn. You have to educate yourself about where you're going to meet some great people. You can do it. I'm telling you, you can do it.
So then once okay, let's say you get beyond, the three dating phase and you hone in on the one, that's where a lot of things go sideways because you either start sabotaging the relationship with your own
Yes.
unhealthy behavior,
Yes.
or you have such a you put them on such a pedestal that
Yes.
all you can possibly do is tear them down and discover all these deal breakers, and then there you
Yes.
are, you're lonely again. So how do you
Yes.
get to the next phase?
Well, yes, this is a very, very, very key question because to have lasting, passionate love, you actually have to work it out together and you have to get into a mode where you are fulfilling each other, right? And you're not wounding each other. So we talked about that there are two dynamics at play. There's the wounding possibility, but there's the healing possibility. And so what you want to do is really get that healing possibility to work with each other and talk about what your deepest needs are and have them filled. One simple way to do that is to have 10-minute listening sessions with each other where one talks and the other listens, just listens. So one gets to say whatever's coming to mind, and the other one just listens. Like, hey, I'm feeling like I need a little space. I'm involved with this great guy. You can even talk about the person in the third person. I'm involved in this wonderful relationship, and I really feel like I may need a little bit more space, and it just would make me feel so much better, and I would love my partner more. So your partner's listening to you say that and hearing that, right? So he's learning about what you need at the deepest levels. What is the kind of reparenting that you might need? Let's say because you were engulfed, so you needed space, right? So notice that there's a lot of straight talk in that. There's straight talk. People expect each other to read each other's minds. That does not happen. No, there has to be loving, straight talk. Loving, straight talk. This is what I really need, honey. I'm loving being with you. You're scrumptious. You're delicious. You're amazing. There's nobody better than you. And I would really love it if you actually, sent me off to have girl time.
Yeah. That's interesting because depending on, whatever issues your partner is bringing to the table, that may trigger a whole set of like abandonment issues with them because they may not have the confidence to give you that space. They may freak out and be like, wait, you want space? What, you want to break up? You want to end this?
Well, you don't love me. Yeah, you don't love me.
Right.
No, but here's the thing. That's where your part comes in, and you being a healing or reparental agent. That's why. Do you notice how I said, you're so wonderful, you're so amazing, you're so incredible? In that particular example, usually the person who is smothering or holding on to or engulfing the other person needs a lot of reassurance and validation and appreciation. So, you want to create a relationship where you're exchanging what each other's really needing in the moment, right?
And how often would you recommend these 10-minute listening sessions? Because they sound pretty good for even a married couple.
I'm married to my soulmate, and I do it all the time. I do it all the time. These 10-minute listening sessions are miraculous.
Yeah.
Miraculous. Because you actually get to listen. There's no devices allowed, right? You just sit opposite each other. And the one who's listening does not get to talk. It's just listening with full attention. And then you reverse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea. I love it. One of the things that I tend to see among friends, and I just know it from personal experience, is a lack of self-confidence. So it's this kind of, you're literally doing whatever you can to fill this void, this emptiness inside of you, because for whatever reason, you are lacking in self-confidence. And so, you fill it with relationships, one-night stands, you fill it with pretty much anything to distract yourself from the fact that deep down there's a hole inside of you that you can't really fill with other people. And it makes me tremendously sad because, I have dear friends who are amazing, are amazing people, amazing women in particular. And I see them settle for a lifestyle that I know is not going to fulfill them. And I know they are so much more than this person. So what is the work that person needs to do to rise up out of that? Or is that purely just an age thing where that happens, in your mid-20s, and then miraculously when you turn 30, you're much more self-aware and comfortable in your own skin?
If you get into trying to fill the inner hole with outside things, that doesn't get any better. It gets worse, actually. What you need to do is what I call the diamond self-work. And in the diamond self-work is you rewire your brain, you rewire your thinking so that it is more self-loving, and it's actually more spiritually connected to whatever your sense of a higher power or the divine has. You know, when you talk about inner emptiness, and things that people try to fill with food, with alcohol, with drugs, with possessions, with success, with relationships, with houses, with achievement, with status. Um, that has to be worked with internally. It cannot be just satisfied externally. It has to be worked with internally. And the diamond self work is the primary work that we do to help people fill themselves up so they can be dating 3 people and they can actually be happy. They can be happy, which is where it's really at.
Right. I mean, happiness that isn't even achieved necessarily through somebody else, but like the idea of dating
No.
yourself and loving yourself and, just loving who you are as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the diamond self work, we do a lot of interesting diamond self work. And one of the first things you get to do is you get to name yourself, right? You get to give yourself a nickname. And it can be any fun, amazing nickname that builds on who you are and who you want to be, right? And it can be grand, and it should be grand, even though you may not be feeling it. So, it could be vivacious minx, amazing grace, beloved mighty Isis, healing prism of light and truth. Actually, that name reminds me of you.
Wow, thanks. I don't know why, but when you said that, my nickname for myself had something to do with food, like cupcake, frosting, sprinkles. Just me. Maybe I'm hungry.
Well, you can have lots of different types of things.
But I like that idea because it's basically like verbalizing. It's like a verbal, a semantics dream board. Basically, like this is who I want to be,
Yes.
this is who I dream of being, and this is who I
Yes.
want to present myself to the
Yes.
world. So, what advice do you have, for example, for someone like Pat who wrote in on Facebook? She wants to know about, 60 plus. What about us? It's like it's always about the young. She says she's found dating apps that are full of scammers who prey on the older and the lonely. She's alone, but not lonely. That's good. But what advice do you have for Pat?
Well, Pat, let me tell you that things are super good for 60 and up. I'm telling you, in our mentoring practice where we coach women, we have numbers of women all over the world. Actually, we even have women who are in their 80s. And the truth is that you can go back and have almost like it's almost like getting the teenage experience you always wished you had. I mean, we had a woman in our Love Mentor coaching program, and she started really doing her diamond self work. I think her name was Deborah Rose. She was dressing the part of Deborah Rose and having fun with that. And she studied how to meet men, and she went to offline activities which had to do with horses. She was a horse person. So one of the things I talk about in terms of meeting great people is to go to activities that you're interested in that have lots of the opposite sex in them. And she went to this activity, met this amazing guy. He bought her a horse. They started dating. She sent me a photo of her on a horse. She's riding bareback. And she's got these long, trailing, beautiful, like silken, like sheet thing. I don't know what she's wearing, but it's like a gown with like trailing behind in the wind. And she's like galloping freely in her diamond self as Deborah Rose. And I put that as a screensaver on my computer because the truth is that it can be done at any age. It really can be done at any age. That's the truth. It
Okay.
can be done at any age.
So that's one of the things that you mentioned there. I hear what you're saying is, participate in activities where hopefully there is an abundance of people, that you actually want to meet. If you're a woman and you want to meet men, go to where the men are. Like, don't
Yes,
fake it. Don't go to like a meeting about artificial intelligence if you have zero interest in it. Like, you have to have some real interest in that particular
yes,
field, right? But
yes,
that does make
yes.
sense.
I call these activities mentastic activities, mentastic. And this has to do with having, your diamond self being alive and happy because you're so into it. Whether it's hiking or biking, or investing, or anything that like really floats your boat. Wine tasting, cigar tasting, that would have lots of men in it. And here you are, being your diamond self, enjoying yourself, having lots to talk about, and here are these guys, and it all flows very naturally. This is in distinction, contradistinction to singles events. I don't like singles events. I don't.
Yeah, I took my mom to a few when I was in college, and she was looking for a mate, and they were pretty much horrible. They were awful. It was
Oh,
like,
it's just dreadful.
and
It's,
the numbers were really interesting too. There would be like 40 lonely women in their 40s and 50s, and like two not very eligible bachelors, and they'd be clamoring over these two guys, and it was just really kind of a sad scene.
yes, that's what it is. And so I do not advocate going there. No, but you go to fantastic activities and you have a ball.
Mm.
You have a ball, right? And you're glowing, you're radiant because you're happy, and that makes you magnetic. You're in your diamond self, and it's just great. It's just great. I mean, I could tell you so many examples of women in our coaching program met fabulous guys at Mentastic activities.
Yeah, and a lot of this for you, I mean, this is your life's work and your life's passion, but it sprang for you from a pretty personal place, like being the youngest of what, five daughters?
Yes. Well, I was born the youngest of five daughters to a patriarchal Italian family that only wanted boys. And when I was born, my father said, "Oh, another girl. I don't want to come to the hospital to see her." And so you can understand from there, growing up, what it was like for me. My father only said, "I love you" once, and he happened to be drinking. So it didn't really mean much to me. So growing up, I felt like I had no chance at having love. I mean, I had very, very low self-esteem. I was socially mute, couldn't speak to anyone pretty much when I was a child and a teenager. And I felt like I needed to learn what love was, actually, because it seemed to me that there must be love, because I read about it, and the poets talk about it, and the songs talk about it. And so I started studying everything I could get my hands on about love. And I wound up getting a master's degree and a PhD in clinical psychology, and learning a great deal, and getting a fairy godmother, getting a mentor
Mm.
who
Hmm.
reparented me, right? Who said, "Oh, you're smart." Oh, I mean, I was told I was stupid. You could help a lot of people. You could be a psychologist,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, this guy's crazy."
Hmm.
It was a man, actually,
Yeah,
man,
so
a
it was a
man,
fairy
very
godfather for you.
body, right? I'm like, I don't think so. But anyway, he reprogrammed me in a very positive way. And I was able to meet and marry my soulmate. There's no way I would have this relationship without the mentoring. No way, no way.
Well, and that's
And
really the irony for a lot of people too, is like, if I put myself in their shoes, let's say you've had that childhood, like everybody's had something, right? Nobody's grown up with like the perfect childhood where there's literally nothing in their developmental history that would, shape negatively the way they would search for a partner.
Right.
But that is a hard realization to make, but it is so necessary. So essentially, what you're saying is, you could meet the person of your dreams. That very perfect person, your soulmate, could come along in your life and you could cross paths with them. You could even have an interaction with them. But if you in yourself are not prepared to engage in that relationship, if you haven't done the work on yourself to be a whole person that can connect with another person, then it's potentially a missed opportunity. Like you could meet the right person, but not have it come to fruition because you haven't done the hard work in yourself to, increase the odds that that relationship is going to work and to last long term.
Absolutely, and it happens all the time, and it's heartbreaking. And people know it. The great love of my life was so and so, and I blew it. Or I had two chances and I blew it, and it's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking because if you don't have your inner work done and your self confidence and your self love where it needs to be, you will sabotage, guaranteed, and you will cause the relationship to fall apart. That's why the diamond self-work is so important. That's why we really emphasize that. You have to do the diamond self-work because the outer world reflects the inner world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, you've got
Yeah.
an amazing offer for our viewers that I'd like to invite you to share. I'm excited for the person who will eventually win this opportunity to work with one of your experts as well.
Yes, what we're able to do right now is I have this team of amazing love mentor coaches, and you can have a session with one of them for free for 40 minutes by phone or Skype. You can work on your diamond self. You can work on where to find really great people or anything else. It's very, very exciting. And all you need to do is fill out a form at lovin90days.com. And I believe that Anna will have a link down below for you to go right there. Make sure when you fill out that form at lovin90days.com that you put at the bottom, Anna sent me. You must put Anna sent me so that I know that you're in the posse.
All right.
And you get the VIP treatment, and I'll tell you, you will have an amazing experience.
So cool. Dr. Diana, thank you so much for your insight and your humor and your wisdom.
Oh, thank you, Anna. This was awesome.
And thank you for joining me for this episode of That Expert Show. I will include a link to that offer, so you can check out thatexpertshow.com, our website, to find that. You can also find it on the various social media accounts where we post about this show. I'm on Facebook at Anna Canzano, Twitter and Instagram as Anna Canzano as well. You can see previous episodes of the show on thatexpertshow.com or our YouTube channel if that's easier for you. And we always put out every episode as a podcast. So if you are a fan of Apple iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, all those good places, you can pick us up as a broadcast that way as well. So thanks for being part of the show. Thanks for the two-way conversation. That is the whole idea behind That Expert Show, where you help run the show.